So dear colleagues, in the following contribution, we would like to inform you about the results of our research concerning the history of excavation in the Švédův stůl cave in the Moravian Karst. Švédův stůl, in English it's this table. It's a medium-sized cave with a partly collapsed ceiling located in the valley of the Říčka stream in southern part of Moravian Karst near village of Brna. It is an important paleontological, archaeological, and anthropological site inhabited by humans since the Middle Paleolithic with finds of Neanderthal skeletal remains. During a recent excavation in the foreground of the cave, on which we collaborated with our Australian colleagues, we found out that there is a lack of any English language literature concerning this site, and also papers devoted to the history of research on the Švédův stůl cave as scarce. We have therefore decided to remedy this deficiency and prepare an English language study summarizing the history of research and excavation on the site, including descriptions of significant discoveries and finds, especially in the fields of geology, archaeology, paleontology, and anthropology. In addition, as part of the preparation of the excavation in front of the cave, we managed to obtain from Bohuslav Klima Jr. field documentation of the most extensive excavation carried out at the site in between 1953 and 1955 by his father, Bohuslav Klima Sr. We would like to publish selected unpublished documents from Klima's file, and we have also used this documentation to spatially locate the recently excavated test pits within the spatial framework of the Klima's excavation. A summary of forthcoming study will be presented in this contribution. As far as the history of the excavation of the Švédův stůl cave is concerned, the first archaeological field research was carried out here in 1886 and 1887 under the direction of Martin Kříž, a lawyer and amateur archaeologist. Kříž explored the large patch of sediments inside the cave and managed to collect a rich collection of bones of Pleistocene animals. However, he found no evidence of presence of Paleolithic hunters in the cave. In the following years, the cave was visited by several other amateur researchers who excavated smaller trenches in the cave. The photo on the left shows the appearance of the cave entrance at the beginning of the 20th century. One of these explorers was also a high school teacher, František Černý, who brought his student Karl Kubásek from the nearby village Bílovice nad Vltavou to the cave in 1903. At the beginning of the following year, Kubásek managed to make a major discovery in the back part of the cave under the collapsed ceiling, where he found a Neanderthal mandible in the Pleistocene sediment. His find was described in 1906 by Kubásek's geology teacher at the Brno Technical University, Professor Anton Řehák. Unfortunately, Karl Kubásek soon died in Italian captivity during the First World War when he served in the Austrian-Hungarian army as a pilot. In the archives, we managed to find his manuscript, from which you can see the bottom right corner of this slide regarding the return of the Neanderthal mandible by Karl Son, who borrowed it in 1910 for study reasons. The only photograph of Karl Kubásek known to us comes from speleological exploration of the Ostrov Abyss in 1909, when he was 21 years old. When Martin Kříž learned of the discovery of Neanderthal mandible, he tried to question it, but claiming that it was the jaw of anatomically modern human. Most experts at this time, however, favored Řehák's Neanderthal classification. Martin Kříž therefore returned to excavate the cave in 1908 without finding any other evidence of Neanderthals. He then left the site permanently. During the 1920s and 1930s, other amateur archaeologists such as Karl Schmeisen in 1928 or Franz Schupik pictured here, carried out small-scale excavation in the site. However, the biggest excavation in the cave and on the platform in front of the cave took place between 1953 and 1955 under the direction of Bohuslav Klima, an archaeologist from the Institute of Archaeology in Brno. His field research focused on digging through the then already considerably disturbed sediments inside the cave and on excavating a trench in front of the cave. The main field work was carried out in 1953. The following year, the excavations were only completed, and in 1955, the stratigraphic pillar was examined, which Klima had left standing inside the cave on the recommendation of an expert committee. The sediments were excavated by 2 technicians of the Institute of Archaeology and several workers from nearby village of Ochos without wet sieving of the sediment. Here you can see the appearance of the cave entrance in 1953 before the excavations began. In the following several slides, we will show you some of the mostly unpublished photographs from Klima's excavation. For example, here you can see the shape of the probe in front of the cave. The curves of the layers was marked with white color on the rock wall to the left of the entrance as seen from the cave. This photo shows the technician radar documenting the progress of the work together with the geologist Josef Pelíšek, whose portrait is here. On the left, you can see the head of the field research, Gustav Klima, in conversation with the directors of archaeological institutes in Prague, Jaroslav Bem, and in Brno, Josef Poulík. On the right photo, we can see geologist Karel Zapleta studying the stratigraphic pillar in the cave. These photographs show the progress of the excavation on the platform in front of the cave. Among the workers, we can recognize Karel Hasdíra, who cooperated earlier with Karel Abson and Rudolf Čížek on excavation of the Pekárna cave in 1920s. At the bottom right, we recognize Josef Poulík, accompanied probably by the second technician Wilhelm Gebauer. On the left photo, we can see Gustav Klima manipulating the leveling device, and on the right, we can see the painter Jáša drawing the cave entrance. His drawing was later used in the monograph dedicated to Klima's research on Švédův stůl cave. And finally, the last photo from the scientific commission. This commission took place on 6th of October 1953, and simultaneously with the field research of the Švédův stůl cave, an excavation of nearby Magdalenian open-air site on the platform in front of Ochos cave was carried out under the direction of archaeologist Hana Machová. In this photograph, Machová is describing her results of her excavation to the colleagues from all over Czechoslovakia. Although Klima was the first researcher who managed to find Middle Paleolithic artifacts in situ in the cave, no further Neanderthal skeletal remains were discovered during his excavation. However, an interesting event occurred shortly after the end of the field research, when Lenka, the young daughter of the natural history teacher in Šlapanice, Jaromír Vaňura, managed to find a molar of another Neanderthal on the heap of dirt soil from the Klima's excavation. During the second half of the 20th century, Vaňura excavated several narrow side passages that had not been explored in previous excavations, and among other skeletal remains of Pleistocene fauna, he also discovered several skull fragments of another fragment of molar, which he thought that might belong to Neanderthal. Vaňura also excavated several test pits on the platform in front of cave, where he correctly stated that not all sediments had been excavated down to the bedrock during the Klima's field work, and that there were still intact sediments present. Vaňura's excavations are reported in his paper and manuscripts, as well as in his correspondence with the staff of Moravian Museum and the Institute of Archaeology in Brno. In particular, he blamed Gustav Klima for the allegedly poor quality of the excavation carried out. In the following section, we would like briefly to present the main areas in which the research in Švédův stůl cave has yielded valuable insights. In the field of geology, we have focused mainly on the description of individual layers in the cave and its foreground. While Klima distinguished a total of 15 layers, according to geologist Josef Pelíšek, there were 11 layers in the cave. However, all researchers agree that below Holocene layers there is a layer of late Vistilian lead with Magdalenian artifacts separated by calcareous horizon from the overlaying sediments or layers. The Middle Paleolithic tools were then deposited in the underlying complex of brown cave soils with an additional thin layer of ochre-colored sediment beneath. We have also prepared an overview of human occupation of the cave. This begins with a not very distinctive Neanderthal Middle Paleolithic settlement. This is followed by the finds of Magdalenian culture from the end of the last ice age. Holocene cultures were also relatively well represented. These are Neolithic cultures with linear pottery and Moravian painted ware, the Neolithic funnel beaker culture, the early Bronze Age Unitica culture, and early Iron Horákov culture. Medieval and modern finds are also present. The Švédův stool cave is considered one of the richest paleontological sites in Moravian Karst. The species richness of the skeletal remains of Pleistocene fauna found here is extraordinary. In addition to preparing an overview of all animal species found here during individual excavations, we have decided to revise some of the finds stored in the depository of the Institute of Anthropology of the Moravian Museum. This included, for example, the remains of the small porcupine species, Lisá Vinogradovi, which indicate the presence of ancient sediments dating back at least to the beginning of the last ice age. The discovery of the lower Pleistocene proboscidean Mammutus meridionalis, formerly Archidiscolon gromovi, by Jaroslav Vaňura, on the heap in front of the cave, it's this smaller, was also confirmed. It is possible the lower Pleistocene sediments could have been preserved in some fissures under inside the cave, but more likely the molar of this proboscidean was originally deposited in a secondary position in younger sediments, where it could have reached, for example, by flushing from older layers above the cave. On the other hand, on the basis of comparative material, we had to correct Vaňura's classification of these like fragments of mandible as the first table, Martes dibellina, in the territory of Czechoslovakia, because according to our opinion, it was a common European pine marten, Martes martes. The Švédův stool cave is mainly famous for the skeletal remains of Neanderthals. Apart from the famous Ochos mandible, here, found in 1905 by Kubásek, these are mainly teeth and small skull fragments. Most of the skull fragments published by Vaňura were found to be stored in the Anthropos depository. Whether these are really Neanderthals or rather cave-bear skull fragments could be proven in future, for example, by the zoom analysis. Furthermore, based on the description in Vaňura's correspondence, we were also able to trace the approximate finding spot of the Neanderthal mandible, not mandible, but molar on the heap of their soil in front of the cave, where it will be possible to focus further excavation of the heap. This one. Martin Oliva is then to be thanked for tracing the history of Ochos mandible, which ended up in Germany before the First World War, but after many vicissitudes, it was eventually returned to Moravia, specifically to Anthropos Institute of the Moravian Museum, where it is still deposited. In 2019, an international scientific team led by Ladislav Neyman excavated several test pits and one bigger trench on the platform in front of the cave. During the field research, intact sediments of Pleistocene age were excavating lying on the underlying Miocene sand. This confirmed Vaňura's claim about the presence of intact sediments in the foreground of the cave, which for some unknown reason were not excavated during the field works of Bohuslav Klima. In addition, in 2019, under the direction of Petr Klima from Institute of Archaeology in Brno, excavation of the heap of dead soil from previous excavation in front of the cave has been underway, during which all the sediment is being wet sieved. The main goal of this research is, of course, to find more Neanderthal skeletal remains. In the frame of our research, we have tried to use the documentation of Klima's excavation to place the location of the new test pit in the spatial framework of Klima's field research. To do this, we used both a horizontal plan of the clay-mass excavation, which included a meter scale of the trench of the platform in front of the cave and a photograph on the rock wall in front of the cave from the clay-mass excavation, on which the karst of the individual layers was drawn by white color. By comparing these documents with the current appearance of the rock wall, we were able to identify the more prominent cracks and protrusions depicted in the old photograph, which we were able to horizontally place each of the recently excavated test pits into the plan of clay-mass excavation. However, there was a problem with the vertical placement of the test pits. After leveling the current surface of the plateau in front of the cave and the individual layers recognized by clay-mass, we came to the conclusion that the karst of the layers on the clay-mass stratigraphical drawing is significantly more sloping than in reality. As you can see here. Why is it so? We don't know. We know from photographs taken at the time of clay-mass excavation that the height of the individual layers was measured using a leveling device. This discrepancy between the leveling according to clay-mass stratigraphic drawings of the layers in front of the cave and our measurement remains a mystery to us. We will visit Švédův stůl cave together during the afternoon program of the excursion tomorrow, and there will be more space for further information regarding this interesting site. However, if you have questions regarding the contribution I have just presented, so I'm ready to answer them. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much. I think we have time for one or two questions. Is there anybody have a question? Maybe then I may. Yeah. You mentioned a stratigraphic pillar, a column that preserved that clima left in the 50s. Is this still present?
No, it was excavated, like the upper part of this pillar was excavated in 1955 because many amateur archaeologists came to the cave to excavate it by themselves. And the lower part was probably excavated by Bajer or other amateur archaeologists later in the 60s, but it was there anymore.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So perhaps tomorrow at the site.
Probably, most probably. So thanks a lot again, and so we continue. And